Alright guys, so I've been asked a lot on how to find the perfect aiming sensitivity. Now keep in mind, everybody is different. They have a different gaming setup, especially if you're on PC, because you got different keyboards, mice, and all that good stuff. And everybody's built differently, like muscle-wise. So you got to find your perfect sensitivity that works for you. Now, just a heads up, there's a couple settings we need to do here to make sure that you get the right settings. First off, if you have your field of view, if you ever change it, you're going to have to repeat this entire setup, because field of view affects sensitivity. So when you change the field of view, your sensitivity, you can't use what you were using before on the previous field of view. You have to redo this entire method. Also, I like to have it on affected. This is probably the most accurate in my books. Again, it's preference, but generally keep it on affected. The other thing is, when we go to the keyboard and mouse settings, have the monitor distance coefficient at 0. I have it on gradual. This is preference. You can have it on instant gradual or after zoom. Gradual seems to be the one that most games have it at. So at 0 and have these at 1, because this monitor coefficient is the coefficient that affects your aim down sight sensitivity. And we want it to be as 1-to-1 with our hip fire sensitivity, because the thing that we are going to change is your hip fire sensitivity. And this is how we have it all for the other things. But let's get into how you're going to find this sensitivity settings. But before we get into that, I have to show something that's very important for the PC guys. Console guys, I don't think this matters to you, but the key thing is mouse acceleration. We don't want any of that when we are going to be playing. The other thing I want to also mention is we disabled mouse smoothing. We don't want this. This is going to affect your sensitivity and give you some input lag essentially, and mouse acceleration, obviously we want this off in the game. You don't want any of these affecting your sensitivity, because we want to build muscle memory once we find the right sensitivity, so that we can always be able to flick on target without it just naturally should happen without having to have anything hold us back. Okay, so for you guys that are on PC, the mouse settings, you want to have your drivers open. It doesn't matter what mouse you use. I use the Rocket mice, and I find they're very good because of all the settings you can have. The key things we want to look at is mouse acceleration. We don't want this activated here. The DPI, you can use whatever you like. Just know that if you go to a high DPI, the mouse is reading very small increments of movement, meaning even the slightest movement of your mouse will lead to a lot of movement on screen, which also means you'll have to put a lower sensitivity in the game to be very precise and accurate. But most games don't go that low in sensitivity settings, so generally about 800 to 1600 is usually, or 400 to 1600 usually the right DPI to use. Now, the other thing is with the advanced settings, you can put things like high polling rate. This is how fast your mouse sends signals to your PC, and that's what you want. You want to have as low as possible input lag and all that good stuff. And there's other things that you can have, like that make this mouse really good. This is why I use this mice. A lot of great settings. But for those of you guys that might just have a normal mouse and you don't have any drivers, what you can do is you can go down here and you can type mouse, and you'll get like mouse settings. You're going to open this, and then on the right you got additional mouse options. You're going to want to open that. Now with this open, you're going to go to your pointer options and don't have this on. This is really the only thing you can do if you're going to do it through Windows. This is exactly the same as mouse acceleration here. You do not want this. Windows mouse accel affects so many things. You don't want Windows mouse accel. Okay, now with all of that out of the way, we're going to go to a private match and we're going to create a custom game. It doesn't matter what game you go into, just as long as you get in, because we're going to be basing everything off of our hip fire sensitivity, and that's how we're going to build it all from there. Okay, so now that we're in the game, what we're going to do is we're going to find an arbitrary target, and we're going to try to work off of our hip fire sensitivity to find what feels perfect for us unlocking onto a target. So you're just going to find a good position, because you need to be like able to move around while you lock onto this target and hold onto it. So this should be good. So let's use this yellow symbol, and we're going to just lock onto it. And what you're going to try to do is you're going to lock on and move left and right as best as you can, holding your crosshair on it as best as possible, because we're going to assume this is the enemy target's head, and you need to be able to lock onto it no matter where they go. So now this is where this website comes into play. Okay, so to get this website, I've got the link to it in the description of this video, so you can open this on your phone or wherever to help you make your life easier on finding your right sensitivity. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the starting sensitivity. This could be the default game sensitivity, which is considered an arbitrary number, or what you can do is find your 360 sensitivity and then put that in. If we're going to go with the default game sensitivity, we're going to need to repeat this process 3 times and find the average from there. So let's just say the default sensitivity is 3. On the right, you'll notice it gives me a lower value of 1.5 and a higher value of 4.5. We're going to be testing out both of these. So we'll start with 1.5. So we go back to the game. We're going to go back to our options and we're going to type in 1.5. This is the lower value. Now, what you do is you lock onto that target and you move left and right and try to keep your crosshair locked onto it as best as you can. Obviously, I'm having some difficulty, but this could just be muscle adaptation and you just need to keep practicing with it for a little bit. Not too long, just enough to see how you feel about it. Eventually, you're going to adapt to it and you're going to see how you really feel about it. So obviously doing it far away to see how well you lock on to the micro increments of movement onto the target, and up close to see if you can flick really quick and hold on to it really well. Then, after you've tested it out enough, you know how it feels, you go back and you try the higher value. In our case, from the website, it was 4.5. So we type in 4.5 and we repeat the exact same process. We try our best to lock on. Remember, it starts off with a little bit of muscle adaptation, and then after that, it becomes something you can really work with. This is why you need to do it for a little bit, just to see how well you lock on. I'm finding 4.5 to be a little bit better than 1.5. I'm finding it a little bit easier to lock onto the target. It's not as hard. So now that I feel that 4.5 is better, we're going to go to the website. So we said 4.5 felt better. So in iteration 1, we're going to select higher. And you notice on the right, it spits out 2 new numbers, 1.88 and 5.63. So obviously we go into the game and we type in 1.88. We do the same process of testing it out. And we also do 5.63 and do the process of testing it out. See which one feels better and easier for me to lock onto the target. And from there, you just go and decide which one feels better or not. And for sake of argument and to not waste your time, I'm just going to select these values to show you guys what ends up happening. So we'll say it goes higher, then lower, then lower, then higher. It really doesn't matter. This is all your preference until you finally finish iteration number 7, which spits out a perfect sensitivity for you. This is the sensitivity you're going to be using. In my case, from doing this, it came out to 3.77. So let's go into the game, and we're going to end up typing 3.77. Now we try to see how well we lock onto the target with 3.77. This should be the best sensitivity for locking onto the target with as minimal issues of locking onto that target, whether it be close or far. And from here, it's just purely muscle memory of just completely playing with this sensitivity always and continuously, even with aim down sight and whatnot. It will build your muscle memory from there, and you'll have a much easier time locking onto targets, flicking to targets really well without having any issues. And over time, you're going to notice you're really locking onto targets really easily and not over flicking your targets with this method. But just keep in mind, if you change your field of view, you will have to repeat this. And another thing you can do, just to be absolutely certain that you have the right sensitivity that you feel is perfect for you, you're going to copy the perfect sensitivity. You're going to refresh this page, and you're going to put the perfect sensitivity in there, and you're going to repeat the process of lower and higher. And you just keep doing it for about 3 times, copying the perfect sensitivity and repeating the process. And what you'll find is the sensitivity is always around the perfect sensitivity that you had. And from there, you can add all 3 together and find the average, or you can just use the final iteration of the perfect sensitivity that it spits out for you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I can make another in-depth video on how to figure out how to convert your sensitivities with different field of views without this method in a quick way, and also how to find your sensitivity in other games and so on. If you guys enjoyed it, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments on how to get these settings, and maybe even some questions about like other things as to why I do it the way I do and whatnot. And yeah, this should help you be a really good sniper, even flicking and shooting.